If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump, we start off by talking about Adam's favorite cartoon, Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo-Doo. Ruh-roh.
Then we talk about Gilligan's Island. For those of you youngsters, ask your mom and dad. They know exactly what that's all about.
God, make us feel old.
Oh, man, the skipper.
Then we talk about the benefits of learning how to sell in the fitness industry. That's
Selling
right.
that dream.
If you can sell fitness, you can sell anything. We talk about the heydays of 24-hour fitness. Of course, those are the days we were there.
Yeah.
And then we talk about effective leadership. This is one of our favorite subjects, and Adam loves to go on tangents on that one. You won't want to miss that one.
Did I?
Then we get into the questions. The first question is, if you build strength and muscle and then you lose weight, is that good for your lighter body? In other words, strength to weight ratio, how important is that? Then we get into why we put tests in Prime, our Prime program, and why they're pass or fail. A lot of assessments use different metrics in terms of trying to assess your movement in your body. We chose the very simple pass or fail. Why? Why did we do that? Find out in this episode. Then we talk about what to do when you can't eat more calories and carbs because you have a sensitive gut, but you still want to put on muscle size.
Shovel it in.
Yeah, what do you do now? Like, I want to gain some muscle, but my gut is giving me the poops.
Ooh.
Then we talk about a gentleman who's getting married in late September, and he would like to know
God bless his soul.
the best water restriction protocol to dry out
Yeah.
for the big day.
Horrible idea, buddy.
We think he's super confused, and we try to help the fella out.
Yeah.
Also, finally, I'm going to read a special announcement from Doug, our producer. If your muscles are not firing properly, you will not see results in the gym. MAPS Prime is designed to fire up your central nervous system and promote optimal recruitment patterns and muscle firing so that you get substantially more out of your current workout. It is the only pre, intra, and post-workout supplement you need to maximize muscle growth and performance in the gym. MAPS Prime Pro is a comprehensive assessment and correctional program that's designed to address the function of all parts of the body for optimal performance and function from head to toe. It also helps you overcome pain. There's 7 pass or fail tests that allow you to identify dysfunction in your neck, shoulder blades, wrists, lumbar spine, hips, ankles, and feet. Once identified, we include advanced tools that are employed to correct those issues. For anyone who has pain or wants to maximize performance, and for all you fitness professionals, MAPS Prime Pro is the program. This month, and I believe there's only 4 days left when this particular episode airs, we have the Prime Bundle, which includes both MAPS Prime and MAPS Prime Pro at a massive discount. If those programs sound interesting to you, and they should, enroll at mindpumpmedia.com. 4 days left for this special bundle. Do you guys ever wonder why they call these things microphones? Were the original ones?
Why are they micro?
Were the original ones bigger than this?
Yeah. Megaphone.
Doug,
right?
do you know what?
Yeah, the megaphone.
Well, that's a good point.
Any idea why they call it a microphone, Doug?
Why would they call the other one a megaphone?
Well, a megaphone makes your voice louder.
Yeah.
So if you do it, like if I put it in front of my face right now, well, or if one of you guys puts
Well,
it in
what
front
it
of
does-
your face, you're as loud as I am.
So a microphone condenses your
Right,
voice,
that's what I was
right?
going to say. That's exactly what happened.
Boom!
Yeah.
That's what it is, right?
We solved the riddle.
We figured it out.
I feel like Scooby-Doo.
I know. You're Thelma.
Doinks!
You're Thelma.
Yeah.
Adam's Daphne. And,
Wait. Which one's Daphne?
I'm Scoob.
I thought I was ruh-roh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Scoob.
Yeah, you're for sure. Whoa.
Yeah.
You're for sure Scooby.
Yeah.
And you're the hot chick,
No, Scoob.
Adam.
What does she do? I forgot what she does.
She doesn't do a lot.
I don't know.
She
She
just
just looks
bitches a lot,
hot.
does she?
She just runs, dude.
Right?
She's just like, yeah, whatever I do, you said it's great. You know, dude. She like goes, yeah.
Talk about an old show that I used when I was a kid. I was like thinking in my head, like, I guarantee they're all fucking each other.
For sure.
Gilligan's Island.
They have a van.
You guys remember
what?
Gilligan's Island?
Yes.
For sure, there was some crazy shit going on there. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever watch that,
Skipper?
Adam?
I
Come on,
have,
man.
but I didn't watch it a lot.
So you know why? So, I used to know the song.
Come here, little buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I think they had a thing.
Yeah, they did. The reason why I know the song so well is because when I'd have a sales counselor who just spent way too much time. This is when I would manage gyms, by the way, for the audience who doesn't know what I'm talking about. When I'd have a sales guy, when you manage gyms, what you do, part of the sales process is you give people a tour of the gym and show them around.
Yeah.
And, we'd always have
3 hours.
Yeah, we always had that.
Yeah.
We always had that sales guy that would spend an hour and a half with one guest, and then the guest wouldn't even enroll.
They walk them.
They'd walk them out. So I'd get on the intercom and I'd do the Gilligan's Island song.
Oh, nice.
3-hour tour, and we'd do the whole song. Because public
exactly.
Because public shaming is extremely effective motivation.
I tell you what, man, those were
It's motivating.
Those were some of the good old days. That atmosphere, man, for a guy like me who was young, athletic, and competitive, I don't think I could have fell into a better place.
They fostered that kind of
Sure you could have. You imagine if we fell into an environment that was like investments or tech, we'd be millionaires.
I don't know though.
Fitness industry.
I don't know though, because not a lot of maybe now, I don't know what the landscape looks like, but the landscape was just so awesome there. Everybody was young, fit, vibrant, hungry, competitive, and it was
banging in the cycling room.
What?
I don't know where that came from. It was it was during the time too where I felt like personal training was on the rise, especially here in the Silicon Valley. It seemed like, if anybody and everybody who had money, it was like a cool thing to have a personal trainer. So to sell personal training was pretty easy. So what a good time to learn how to do it well, when it's a little bit easier.
The thing about sales in gyms and why some of the best, and I'm not just saying this because I'm biased, by the way, because I've trained and worked with on side businesses some other extremely successful salespeople. I've worked with real estate agents who are among the top in the country. I've worked with insurance agents who do extremely good sales, car salesmen. But the best salesmen I've ever worked with in my entire life, and this is salesmen and women, were in gyms. And the reason, I think, the theory I have behind this is because the sales cycle is so fast that it's just constant practice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you're
There's a lot of people that are coming in and out.
Like if you're a real estate agent, between getting a lead, turning it into getting a customer who actually buys from you, that could take months, one person. Mm-hmm. If you're in a busy gym at 24 Hour Fitness, we would sell, tons of memberships every day, 30 memberships.
Well, that's why you got mad that it was a 3-hour tour, right? Because you knew how many other people you probably could have took on that tour and closed.
Yes, but there's also the one of the biggest sales pitfalls that you see is where salespeople just talk too much and talk people out of it. And to sell a gym membership should not take 2 hours. If it is, you're talking them out of it by that point. So, but just the sales cycle is so fast that if you're a good salesperson in a busy gym, and I ran some of the busiest ones in the Bay Area, you're going to see 10, 15 people a day.
Right.
Doing this whole process.
Just reps.
Just tons of reps. So I know, you know how many salespeople I know, I'm sure you guys do too, who worked with me, who were excellent, who moved on to other arenas and just became killer.
Oh, it was an incubator. It was an incubator for talent. You know, they would just go in whatever direction, and if they killed it there, you knew they're going to kill it somewhere else.
So you have that, and I think that's very true. But I have a theory that a lot of it has to do too with what you're selling. So when you go to a like you said, real estate, car dealership, car stereos, anything, mattresses, those are all tangible things.
Yeah.
I can get you on a mattress and say, feel how good this feels, right? This feels amazing, feels better than the one you're sleeping on. I can bring you to a home and say, look how much nicer this home is than the one you live in right now. How would you like to be here? There's things.
You're selling a dream.
You are selling something that is not tangible. So the art of that, learning to master selling something that somebody can't touch is truly, you can't get any better training ground for a salesperson. Like it only gets easier from there. Like, hey, I sold something that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to give me a job where I actually have something that the person could touch and feel. Fuck, this is easy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's how I would look at it. And I think that's how a lot of guys that evolved from the business that worked with us looked at it. It was like, man, the last 10 years of my life, I've been selling people a fucking dream of what they're going to look like one day, most of them, which we all know that 80% of them never fucking do.
It's very true. And one of the biggest mistakes when I would manage gyms and do sales. I did sales training for the region and then for the division at one point. I did this big sales meeting. And one of the things I talked about that I was taught early on by some of the people I worked with was to stop selling the features of the gym. And this, you don't see this so much in other areas of sales, because in other areas of sales, they teach you to sell the features. Like, that's what you sell, right? So if you're coming in to buy, like Adam says, a stereo, I'm going to sell you all the features of the stereo. The problem with that is that they can find the same stereo somewhere else, and if they find it for cheaper, they're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it'd be more effective to really just tie in an emotional component.
That's
there.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, when I'm selling fitness, I'm not selling you my gym. That's doing it itself. Like, we're walking around and I'm showing you the gym. You're taking a look and that's nice. Wow, that's great. But what I'm selling you is me, the dream, and why you can get this dream here and why you can't get this dream anywhere else. And once you do that, then everything else is easy. But if you sell features, you're fucked, because someone else can have better features or the same features for cheaper.
Right, or it becomes a price war at that point. And you got to be able to sell the experience and the dream of it, man. That's why I think, between what you said and what I was just saying is, it was. And
you guys know any guys that are millionaires now that were selling memberships with us?
Oh yeah,
I know quite a few.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's so fascinating to me, is that how many of them came from that and started. And during that time, we were also blessed to be a part of. Not just a good company, the company in the fitness industry. Nobody
wrote the playbook.
Nobody was doing anywhere near the revenue. It's like getting a chance to be a part of the UFC during its growth years and turning into what it is now. We got to be a part of that with the gym industry and fitness industry when 24 Fitness was dominating everybody.
Some of these clubs were profiting. And I know, because we did worked on the profit and loss statements. Some of these clubs were literally profiting by themselves, just one location, millions of dollars a year after they pay their massive staff, after they pay their awesome. Everything, the rent, the cost of advertising for that particular location, like everything, the profit, millions of dollars for a gym. And I'm just going to tell you this right now: if you have dreams of becoming a millionaire, buying a gym is one of the hardest ways you can, or opening a gym is one of the most difficult ways.
This was one of the conversations I had with Ben Pack the other day when we were working out, and he was asking about, guys that I know that own gyms and, why we didn't and this and that. And I said, man, I was, all of us were really blessed to be a part of a company during the heydays. And at 20 years old, I was managing P&Ls for a gym that was anywhere between $1 to $5 million a year in profit that I had to manage, and I saw that, and I saw what it took to produce that kind of revenue, and and after I had done that for long enough, realized that I don't want no fucking part of this. Like, this is not as easy as everybody thinks it is. It's not as simple as, hey, get a cool gym and, oh man, why this gym isn't doing good? You need the donkey calf raise machine in here, and you don't have enough. And if you had some better plasmas in here, that's what the average trainer or the average person,
blaster machine.
They look at all these little details about the gym that would enhance their experience, and so they think I would do a gym so much better than this gym. And it's like, dude, that's not what makes a gym make millions of dollars.
What was your?
I saw. You talk about numbers, right? So, the shittiest gym in the Bay Area, okay, Capitol McKee, is the most profitable. So, and it's
out of the AAA gyms, out of the big ones,
in the area,
East San Jose,
yes,
in the '90s and early 2000s,
shithole. Shithole. It is a shithole, and it makes
a lot of your customers don't speak English. A lot of them will come in, and even you got to speak Spanish to them because it's just.
Talk about an eye-opening thing for someone who's.
But they crushed.
Yeah,
oh yeah, and they're fitting a need in that community.
And so anybody who's thinking about opening a gym and they have these great grandiose ideas on, it's going to be like this, and it's just the gym attracts people. If you have this badass gym, then it attracts people. No, bro, you're going about it all wrong. It doesn't work that way. In fact, in my experience, and I've managed tons of gyms, and I've looked at reports on all of them. Part of not only running all these P&Ls and numbers for these gyms that we were running, we also got to go to monthly meetings where we compared each other's revenue. That's what was awesome about the company was that I could see this guy over down in Southern California, how much he was profiting over his, and I could see what this guy was doing over here. And you start to collect all this information, and you start to realize
and you realize that we were in the best area for all the clubs. And what I mean by that is not that we were in an area that was easiest to make the biggest profit, but all the killers and the systems and the processes that were extremely successful came out of this area, and a lot of it was here. Like, I mean, I'd run clubs that had been around for. I mean, Sunnyvale was an old flagship club that I ran when I was in there. I mean, every month the pool was broken. It was old. It would turn green. I used to tell people it was emerald green water, so special. Yeah. But it wasn't. It was broken. The ceiling broke in, cave in the operations manager office. We had racquetball in there because it was an old club, just like Capitol. And I was producing, competing with clubs that were grand opening, massive clubs in these beautiful, like Thousand Oaks and all these areas in Southern California and other parts of the country. And the only reason why they were competing numbers-wise was because they had these great, gorgeous, beautiful clubs. The Bay Area didn't have a grand opening club for a long time, and we were killing it because we had such crazy teams. So it was awesome to be a part of all of that. I remember some of the. I mean, it was a lot of it was intense. I remember meetings. I'll never forget, dude. I was in a meeting that was being given by, I can't say his name, but you guys know who it is. He was a notorious manager, district manager, vice president, and he moved up to divisional president. Individual who was giving a meeting, and the last thing you ever wanted to do in his meeting was be caught not paying attention because it would be all bad for you. Well, we had a guy that worked for us in our club who I loved him to death. Great guy. Actually passed away recently. He was he had some alcohol problems, but he'd been in the club forever. And the club was.
Didn't he pass away? The guy you're talking about right now?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
The club, next to us was a bar, and which was perfect for him because he'd go back and forth between the bar.
Right.
That's another story.
Right.
But he kind of started dozing off in this long meeting where we were going over P&Ls or whatever. So he dozes off, falls asleep. So-and-so guy who's giving the meeting looks at everybody and gives us the shush sign, like, don't make any sound. Oh. And he opens the door real quietly, because this guy was sitting in a chair with wheels him out and fucking rolls him out to the workout floor. And his chair's spinning. He wakes up halfway through, falls over. He's like, don't you ever fucking fall asleep on my meeting again. Walks in. I mean, some of the atmospheres that we were a part of was just intense, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Intense.
I've got plenty of. You're making me laugh right now.
I know, because I know I'm sparking some.
Well, yeah, and I
some
can't.
memories,
and I'm like, how do I even tell that story without fucking incriminating people and stuff? I mean, it was wild. It was different, and it's a different culture now, right? It was an insane. You can't you can't yell at employees like you used to be able to yell at employees. You can't say things like that anymore, and so. Dude, I also think that this has caused. I think it's a reason why a lot of companies right now struggle, because I think there was a lot of motivating
restrictions.
Yeah, there was a lot of motivating factors behind that. Now, do I think it's still possible? Absolutely. I mean, but I think you have to be a little more creative on how you build a team like this now. And I think we've gotten away from building this great culture. And that was I could always tell when I walked into a facility. I still to this day can tell. When I walk into a gym, I can feel the energy of the gym the moment I walk in, just from the front desk to the employees that are walking around to the members that are inside there, to just the energy that's being put off in that place. And it always translated into dollars. You could always tell the clubs that were struggling revenue wise.
You could feel it when you walk in.
Yeah, you could feel it because again,
you could feel it when you call them.
Right.
You get on the phone and how they answer the phone, the way they talk on the phone. I mean, the irony of the story that I just told was the reason this manager could do that to that person wasn't because they were this abusive, horrible
because he
manager.
had his respect, right?
They respected each other so much because he had done so much for this particular person. There was so much respect that like I could do something like that to one of you guys, or you could do something like that to me in a situation like that where one of us was really taking a shit, and all we would get from the individual is respect. Like, fuck, man, you called me out, and you're right. And it's just, people need to understand that too, because I'll tell stories like that sometimes, and people will be like, "Oh my god, that was horrible." It's but you don't understand the environment. Like,
well, talk about
the respect level was so high.
Talk about how we create that. I think this is a kind of a cool tip or takeaway, and I think I've addressed this before on the show. This was something that I got from the book, the short read 1 Minute Manager, that I've talked about before, and it spoke about this culture and this way of leadership where I stopped focusing on all the tasks that my employees had to do and micromanaging them. And it's tough. You get in a role, right? You take over a facility, and this could go for any business. It doesn't have to be fitness. It's just in general where you have to lead 5, 10, 20 plus people or whatever towards the same goal or same direction, where you get in that position and right away you want to think of all the things the guy or the girl before you wasn't doing. How can you hold them accountable and accomplish more and motivate them more to do that? And that was kind of like how it worked. And it took me a while, and it took me until I read this book before I had this paradigm shattering moment for me where I completely flipped how I led on its head. And from that book I began focusing on all the things that my staff was doing well and was doing right. And I totally stopped paying attention to what they weren't doing and what they weren't doing well. And when I began to lead this way, it changed everything for leadership for me. And it was such a powerful moment. And it really made me realize what some of these leaders, like the one you're speaking of, how they could get away with just verbally abusing somebody or just fucking punking them, and that person would respond, right? They would respond well and right. They would do the right thing afterwards.
Well, you also know who that works for and with, and who that doesn't.
Well, what I found was there was kind of this formula that you could do, and everyone's unique and different, and how much effort you have to put in each one is a little bit different. But for example, I began leading this way where I would, point out when I'd see, Justin doing something with a client, walk over, touch him on the shoulder and be like, "Hey dude, I just saw what you were doing. It was fucking great job, man. And I really appreciate your work that you do around here," and then walk away. And once you start to do that enough, and you do that consistency is everything. You can't do it once or twice. You have to be known as that leader who is constantly pointing out the things you do well. Then the once in a while, when I come unleashed, it's so fucking rare, but it's so powerful. It's like how we talk about using, swear words. Like, it's part of our vocabulary, and I think when used correctly, it's very powerful when you use the F word when it's put in the right.
They exist in human vernacular in every culture and every language for a reason. They can express feeling and they can communicate better when used appropriately or properly, whether it's done for humor or whether it's done to express some type of emotion. It could be happiness, sadness, whatever. Curse words exist for that particular reason. That's why they're in like I said, every culture has words that are taboo or bad.
Right. So I feel like nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you approach leadership like that, where you truly give everything you got passionately into people, then when those moments come where you drop the hammer or you swear or you do something that's just out of character like that,
it's way more impactful.
Oh my God, it's powerful. It's unbelievable. Like, for me to do that, because we've on this show before, right? I've got the reputation of being the asshole, right? And that's not because I'm this guy who's an asshole all the time. It's that I'm not afraid to be that guy. I'm not afraid to be candid. I'm not afraid to tell somebody who I think is doing a fucking shitty job that you're doing a fucking shitty job. But that's because I put in all the hours of stroking that person off and building their character and building their character up and complimenting them for all their hard work and telling them and putting everything I got into them wholeheartedly. So then when I do that, it's powerful. It's very powerful, and
it's only powerful if someone respects you. That's what people need to understand.
Yeah, you have to get that first. You can't just do that, right? You can't run around.
And it's got to be genuine.
Yeah, and that's the same thing I've run into with the best coaches I've ever had, even in athletics.
Oh, so true.
Man, like they know when to properly snap everybody out of something, and a lot of times maybe that is something that maybe comes off a little asshole-ish, but it's what needs to be said. And you can't be afraid to say what needs to be said when the opportunity presents itself, but you don't want to constantly bombard people, all the time in a negative way. It's just not as effective.
No, the minute you lose the respect of your team, you're screwed. I don't care if it's sports, business, politics, whatever. They stop respecting you because you're weak, or because you think you're strong and you're not, or you push too hard, or whatever the reason why they lose respect, you lose their respect, you're screwed. One of the biggest mistakes that I see, that I used to see gym managers do, was they would go in. This is a mistake I see with a lot of businesses, is they go in with this customer is always right and the customer comes first attitude. And the reason why that's wrong, I know people are listening, are like, no, that is the right thing.
Burger King, man.
Yeah, the customers first. That's not true.
Fuck that. My people are first.
That's right. If your people are first, and it's inverted, it's the inverted business culture. Triangle.
Yeah.
If you treat your people as they come first, they're the ones that are most important, then the side effect of that is incredible customer service, customer experience, product efficiency, all that stuff. The best, the best gyms that I've ever run into where I see the members are the happiest are the ones where the staff is the happiest and the most motivated and the most, they have the most respect for their leaders and the most connected. The ones where the managers just make it all about the customer and nothing about the staff, they always are horrible and the customer hates them. So, and this is especially true of a gym, which is a service industry, service-based industry. So,
that it can be really difficult, if you're in a leadership role, to learn how to do this. And it took me fucking almost all the way towards the end of my career before I really started to put this together, because I learned to start to look at like my team, because before I was always trying to develop people to be like me, right? I was successful at what I did. Let me try and teach these people what I do to be like me so we can be successful and we can win, right? That was like the mentality. And it took me a long time to really start to stop looking at my staff and my team like that, and instead looking at it like a football team would be. Like, there's a quarterback, there's a lineman, there's a wide receiver. Everybody is extremely
role player.
Yeah, everybody's extremely valuable, and they're all valuable for different reasons. And then learning how to not, I can't get mad at my lineman because he can't catch the ball like my wide receiver. So I got to stop, even though they're in the same position, they're playing the same game. I can't look at them like that. I have to be able to separate that and go, you know what? This is what he's really good at. I need to encourage that in him, and I need to tell him how good he is at that, and I want him to be great at that. And I would push that area that he's strong. I'm not going to worry about that he has no hands, because you know what? I'm not going to throw him the fucking ball anymore. Like, there's no reason to throw him the ball. He's a goddamn lineman. I'm going to keep focusing this way. My wide receiver, I'm going to stop expecting him to block or hit people hard because he's a sissy, but he's got incredible hands and he's so talented that way. So when you start to look at your staff and those that are underneath you, and you stop trying to compare them to what you do so well, or maybe the top sales guy or the top producer for you, and stop comparing them and looking at their individual attributes and their strengths, and then encouraging those strengths and teaching them how to take those things that they're already good at and be great at it, they begin to excel. And then telling them what a great job they are. That when I learned to finally do that, it was amazing. It wasn't until I was on my way out, really, that I have this type of impact where I no longer had to fucking reprimand or get hard on anybody. In fact, what I found was, if I had just kind of slacked off, a couple of days in a row where I didn't make my rounds of going over and telling my employees how great they were, like some of them would make their way to my office and be like, Adam, did I do something
okay?
Yeah, did I do something wrong, or is there something like I had created this culture that of me coming around and telling you what a great job you're doing, things that if I didn't make my rounds of doing that, instantly they were already self-evaluating, what the fuck am I not doing? The boss hasn't come by to tell me what a great job, and they would only be mad at themselves. I didn't have to, or somebody would come and tell me something that they fucked up on that I didn't even know they did. Like, they come over and they would explain themselves. Like, hey, boss, I'm so sorry. I just haven't had a chance to get to these files. I know you told me you wanted me to do these, stuff like that. And I didn't even know they didn't do them, but because I hadn't come over to tell them a good job, it was weighing on them, and they were going through their entire business thinking like, what could he be mad at me for? And then they would present it to me and then present that they're going to finish it. It was such a beautiful thing, but it fucking took years and years of coaching and developing and leadership before I kind of pieced that all together. I tell you what, that was probably one of the greatest gems I could pass on to somebody.
Powerful. Leadership bird.
Step
right up, all you bearded men and all you bearded ladies. This quad is brought to you by Big Top Beard Company, whose all-natural beard oil products not only make your beard smell amazing, but feel amazing too. Their organic essential oil blends transport you to manly places like the mountains, the desert, the sea, and beyond, all while encouraging a lot of beard nuzzling to boot. Buy it for yourself or as a gift for that special bearded someone at BigTopBeardCompany.com. Enter the discount code MINDPUMP for 33% off at checkout.
Our first question is from 00 Silk Drop.
Oh, that's our girl.
If someone builds strength and muscle via weights and then sheds a few pounds, will their newfound strength and lighter build increase their aptitude for body weight exercises?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I noticed this with myself every single time, or when I used to do large swings in body weight, when I would bulk and cut type of deal. My body weight doesn't really fluctuate that much anymore. And my weight might fluctuate maybe 5 pounds, but in the past it would fluctuate as much as 15, 20 pounds. And I would get really good at body weight movements when I'd get light. Even though my overall strength many times would go down. So, like I might not be able to do as much on a squat or an overhead press or even a heavy row because I've lost 15 pounds, but my strength to weight ratio is much better. So now when I do pull-ups or push-ups or, handstand push-ups or whatever, I'm repping out reps like crazy. And I remember putting this together in my early years where I do weighted pull-ups. Mm-hmm. And, whenever you drop a lot of weight, like I said, I'd have these big fluctuations. Whenever you have a large drop in weight, it's many times you lose overall strength. But I remember losing strength in my barbell lifts, but then I could add more weight around my waist on my weighted pull-ups. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking man, no matter what I do, my back just gets stronger. And I was doing this. I was talking to my dad about this. I was a kid. I was a teenager.
Even though you're just putting the weight on.
And I'm like, what's crazy? I'm like, what's crazy? I'm like, I lost 15 pounds, but I can do this pull-up with, I added another 15 pounds in my pull-up. My dad's like,
weird.
So you're lifting the same weight.
The same weight.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean?
The same thing.
He's like, lost 15 pounds. You added 15 pounds to your weight. I was like, shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But this is a very, very true thing, and this is for many sports and many athletes, not all of them, because some sports. Weight,
sports?
Yeah. Did I say that?
Sounds sexy.
Yeah. Don't Google that. World champion.
The one
what
sport
websites are you on?
One sport Sal's good at.
Yeah. Champion.
First place.
He's the master debater. At
so
that one.
Some sports weight is good. Like in football, certain positions actually being big and heavy is a good thing. But in many sports, you have weight classes, and so like if you wrestle or you box or other sports that require lots of agility, you want to maximize your strength to weight ratio. That's everything in some of those sports. I mean, imagine if you're a wrestler at 150 pounds and you could, add 15% strength to your body and not gain a single pound of weight on the scale. You're going to move faster. You're going to have more agility, and you're going to be stronger against your 150-pound competitor. All this. So again, this is like the holy grail of athletic training for most sports.
Well, generally, I mean, your body's going to be a lot happier with you. The more you actually focus on that element, because there are sport specific body types that people will build themselves up to mass wise, and that might fit for that very specific activity, but for an overall general purpose like functionality and applied strength, the more you can kind of match that strength to weight ratio in a favorable manner, the better. And you will find a lot of these like body weight movements and exercises will become way easier, and in your joints, you don't have the same kind of pains, and a lot of times like our idea of like where we want to get to is definitely outside of, and we kind of mentioned like the body weight set point and all that kind of stuff as an example, but we try to push beyond that, and a lot of times like your body's like we're pushing against our body like to a certain degree.
I think it's important to note that not all things are created equal though. So if you are, let's say, because what I'm picturing right now with her, because we know who that is, like, let's say she decides, like, okay, I'm going to go on a strength building program. I'm going to run MAPS Anabolic, and she sees her deadlift and her squat, go up. She gets much stronger. She adds 5 pounds, and now she says she wants to lean out, lose some body fat, so drop some down weight. So will that translate over into body weight exercises? Well, some things will have great carryover, some things not so much. For example, I could go on a hardcore strength program and get up to 500.5 pounds deadlifting, but then I can't do more than 15 pull-ups. And I could not do any deadlifting but focus on my pull-ups, and I could get better at pulling up.
Oh yeah, there's specificity here for sure.
Well, I think that's what I mean by it's important to understand that not all things are created equal. So just because you build strength and then lean out doesn't necessarily mean that it could technically carry over to a specific body weight exercise that you're trying to get better at. So that's important to keep that in mind.
Well, like her activity, so she does silks, which my girlfriend was very versed in as well. And silks are, for people who don't know, it's where they have those they're like made out of fabric. They're called silks. They're pretty smooth, but they're not made out of silk, and they hang from a very, very high vantage point, like the ceiling, but a high ceiling. And these artists, because that's what they are, it's an art, will climb the silks and then perform in the silks with like the splits and these twists and moves, and where they'll roll down real fast and catch themselves. And you see this in the like circuses, like the Cirque du Soleil will do this quite a bit. So for this particular activity, if you add a bunch of weight to your squat, you're not going to see a lot of carryover.
That's what I mean.
To the silks. That's what Adam's talking about. You're not going to see a ton of carryover. Now, if you add a lot of strength to your arms, to your shoulders, to your ability to pull, so your rows and your pull-ups and dumbbell rows and stuff like that, you add a lot of strength to your grip, and you don't gain any weight, you're going to fling your body around very easily up on those silks. It's going to be very, very easy to pull yourself up. And in fact, this is why you'll see, like, to give you a good example, if you look at male gymnasts, who, by the way, are some of the most muscular pound-for-pound athletes that you'll find ever, anywhere in the world, in their upper body. You'll notice in their lower body, although their lower body is lean and not skinny and weak, it's just not big. And that's on purpose. You don't see a lot of gymnasts trying to build mass in their lower bodies, or at least male gymnasts, because of their competitive movements are, the rings and hanging and flipping and doing what's that horse called? The pommel horse or whatever.
Horse,
Which if you got one of those guys and they built a ton of strength and size in their legs, even if their strength to weight ratio was awesome, it's going to make it worse for their upper body. So specificity is very important with this, but if you're looking for this kind of performance where you want you want an excellent strength to weight ratio, then you should be focused on training your central nervous system in all aspects. So maximal strength, CNS training, also control, overall tension and control in all these different positions.
Yeah, I was going to say, even the one carryover, if you want to attribute to like a backloaded squat, is just that sensation of loading, on your back and your central nervous system responding to that. Like that's just some kind of a stimulus that you'll be able to have, and summon like an irradiation effect of being able to have that tensile strength on command when you need it.
So I'm glad you said that, Justin, because I've been reading some of the stuff you've sent me, and I've been looking on some more information on isometric training. Isometric type exercises were very popular in the old days of exercise. It was a prized form of exercise way back in the day, and it lost favor as the goals of exercise became more aesthetic based. And what I mean by that is, back in the day, a strength athlete was prized for their performance, and then if they looked good, that was cool too. In fact, Eugene Sandow was one of the first guys that was a strongman that kind of had a six-pack. Everybody else before that, nobody gave a shit. It was all about how much weight they can. So he kind of combined the two of them. But the reason why they prized isometric training so much was because it gave you so much strength that was functional that you could add to your lifts. And it doesn't necessarily translate to a lot of muscle until you combine it with other forms of exercise. So all of a sudden it was cut out of routines because it was all about pumping up the muscles. Well, if you combine that type of training with, traditional exercise, you'll get crazy strength and muscle. If you just focus on tension, you get crazy strength to weight ratio type strength. So that's a great point, because if you're looking for this kind of performance and you're in a sport where you don't want to gain a lot of weight, I would say place a lot of attention on isometric and tension-based movements, because you'll see a lot of carryover there.
Quick commercial break, you guys. We keep getting asked all the time, how can I support the Mind Pump family? Here's one of the best ways you guys can. You guys love that Chimera coffee that we have. Chimera coffee with a K. You go to chimeracoffee.com, put in the discount code MindPump for 10% at the checkout. Also, if you guys want to know how I have this luxurious beard and you want one too, go to bigtopbeardcompany.com, put in the discount MindPump again, but this time for 33% off. Also, you guys, if you guys have not tried Ben Greenfield's new bars out, they're fantastic. If you want some, go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/naturebite, put in the code MindPump and get 10% off. Go check it out.
Next up is Cray Manley. Why are the Prime tests pass or fail?
Good question.
Ooh, yeah, that is a good.
This was a big piece of our program.
It was,
Yeah.
and it was something that, you talk about these trips where we take off and we hash things out. We go back and forth, and no, we can't do that. This is one of those things where we went back and forth, and it was very important. And I remember when we all finally agreed, like, it's got to be, it has to be this way. We can't create something that is any more specific, because if we start to do that, we're going to lose a lot of people. It needs to be more general. And what I mean by that is, because this is a program that, 100 different people can buy, and out of those 100 people, there could be 20 different upper body issues, from the shoulder to the neck to whatever in the chest, like muscles that are overactive, underactive, injuries, all different unique things that are causing dysfunction in the upper body. And we won't be able to tell, this person who had the frozen shoulder and this person right here who has, forward head, even though they both have similar movements that can help them, they have different issues going on with their body. So how do we make this generic enough that this many people can have it, but then also specific enough that we know that anybody who fails these type of movements will help
leave room for you to sort of self-prescribe, because, for us to be able to provide something that, in depth, like, we're going to have to add a new title to our name and get, there's a lot of legal stuff to go along, not to mention. But so what we did is we made it so we basically can identify different zones and, the basic functioning and, what you should be able to produce, at each joint point with that. And so that way you can kind of see, like, well, if I wasn't able to fully retract, and I'm not able to hit this point of my elbow onto the wall, then you fail. So that way, you kind of dive deeper on your own. You realize, oh, this is how I'm going to address this one dysfunction that's not producing in this movement.
So the trainers who are listening and the people in the, I guess, in wellness sphere who work with movement are like this, what I'm about to say here. Because when we wrote Prime, we had a few epiphanies while writing it, and a lot of it was from our experience working with individuals and trainers, and then working with other movement specialists who we were blown away by and learned from. And some of the things that we learned was that it's all based off of movement. So the old assessment models, and I say old because they're going to be gone everywhere soon. So a lot of you guys listening right now are probably using some of these models, and they're not nearly as effective as a movement-based model. If I have somebody and I'm trying to assess dysfunction, I can definitely use an old model and break them down piece by piece to try and figure out what muscle isn't doing what and how to target that one area, okay? Or I can look at general movement and look at movement, know what proper movement looks like, know what recruitment patterns are supposed to look like, and then work on that particular movement and add movements to that movement that strengthen it and put it in a position, or at least correct those issues And if you do it based off of movement, you don't need to know the specifics. Like I don't need to know why when you do a windmill, you can't do a proper windmill. It doesn't matter because these are the exercises and movements that are going to help you be able to accomplish that particular movement in that plane of movement.
Which is a movement that everybody should be able to do. And that's why it's a pass or fail.
That's it.
There is no like kind of pass.
It doesn't even matter why you fail.
Right.
If you fail because you have tightness in your lumbar, or if you fail because your scapula won't retract and allow you to get that straight line with your arms, or if you fail because you're tight in your hamstrings or whatever, it doesn't matter because the solution to that problem, the solution to that, the reason why you can't do all those movements is the same for all of them. Because we don't work in specifics. We have to work based on movement. And the reason why that's better is because that's how life is. If I can make you move better, then you're going to move better. If I correct one small area of your body, I still haven't addressed your movement because now you have to be able to integrate that. Because what the old model was, you find that one thing, correct that, then work up, and then finally work on the movement. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why, when if we teach people the proper patterning with these exercises and movements that we know are general, but will address those issues, if we just do that, it's going to take care of everything else.
Yeah.
And this is how we were able to break the body up into 3 zones, 3 movements, pass or fail. Because regardless of why you fail any which one of them, it's going to point to these particular exercises and movements that are going to correct all the issues that can cause a fail.
Yeah,
and
now
so
these are data points that you can go off of, right? Like a lot of times people just have an assumption of movement, like their knowledge base of how their body moves and their mechanics are so. And it's a lot of times like they just go through with momentum and they don't realize they really aren't capable of articulating their joints this specific way. And so once we identify that may actually highlight other areas that they realize, wow, this has affected my shoulder and it's been in pain because I actually can't, articulate my joint this way. So you're not going to figure that out until you actually look into it.
And we're also thinking like ahead of if someone gets a program online or is training their own program, whatever, there's basic movements like the overhead press, the squat, the bench press, whatever, row. These are all movements that are in almost every program somewhere or another that you should be able to perform correctly. And if you can't do the exercises that we put inside Prime, you probably shouldn't be doing a lot of those moves, especially if you can't complete them with good form without any pain. Yeah. So that's why too that we were so excited to finally get that piece out because we knew deep down, even though we released the other programs first because they were completed first, that really Prime and Prime Pro is the foundation to all the programs that everybody should go through and assess and at least understand your own personal mechanics and what you need to work on. And then from there, it's up to you to work on it. But what I love about it, it's one of those things that immediately when you apply it into your routine right away you will see a difference immediately. If you are somebody
you take a 10-minute Prime session done properly based on your body, what you pass or fail, you'll know right that second. You'll know, this is fucking awesome.
That your entire body performs better.
It doesn't take weeks or months to you'll know right away. You'll get into your regular. I don't care what workout you're doing. I don't care if it's CrossFit, if you're a runner, if you compete in jiu-jitsu. Yoga. It doesn't even matter. When you do your normal activity, right away you'll get into it and be like, I have not moved this well this early on in my workout ever before, is what you're going to think to yourself. You know that right away. So it's not, and we understood that. I mean, here's the deal. When we used to do assessments as trainers, we were taught a lot of these stationary assessments, posture, just stand there and don't move. What does that tell you? It doesn't tell you much. What if I got somebody who can move in all these dynamic ways with good recruitment patterns and great balance in their body? They can do great squats and pull-ups and rows and overhead presses, and they can twist and turn and do all this awesome stuff. But when they stand in just regular posture, it looks like forward shoulder to me. That's not going to tell me that doesn't mean shit. That's just their posture. But everything's firing and moving the way it should. Assessments should be based on movement. They should not. There's definitely clues you can get from stationary positions, but it doesn't tell you even half of the story.
Well, this reminds me a little bit of the rebuttal that we did to Joe Rogan's chiropractor thing when we brought Jordan and Brink on, and they were talking about how funny it is how the old chiropractor way would be they take a screenshot of your posture. They put you in front of one of those walls and they
do an X-ray or
whatever. And they say, oh, you have shoulder elevation here and you're 1 inch longer here.
Doesn't tell you nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything, and nothing tells you really the story of someone's body till you watch them move.
Yeah,
and then when you see it, and which is what impressed me so much the first time that I met Brink was, now a couple years of knowing him, I've never even been on his table before. He's never put me on his table before. It's always been about my movement. Like, take your shoes off, take your socks off, go walk for me, Adam. Okay, now squat for me. Stand up on your toes for me. Do these movements and let me see how your body is communicating with all the muscles and how they all speaking to each other and how they're firing and how are you responding to that? I mean, that it is crazy to think that there still are tests and things out there of
people will think that the specific frozen assessment type stuff that's more individualized, but it's actually not. It's not, because if I look at a picture of what posture is supposed to look like that does not take into account any of the individual variances between individual, because two people could have excellent recruitment patterns and excellent movement and have posture that looks different. I could also train someone to be able to stand with perfect posture, but that doesn't tell you much at all about how their body's functioning. This is true for squats. This is true for anything. Like, more recently, we've had these pretty awesome posts that I've seen on Instagram where some of these great doctors and physical therapists are posting pictures of hip joints. And they're saying, look, all squats can't look like this because some hip joints look like this. There's nothing you can do about it. So proper movement will look different for this person than it will for this person. So it's not about like looking like this specific thing or even just looking at an X-ray. It's about how you move. I mean, talk about X-rays. Do you know, and you could talk to a doctor, if you have a doctor friend or if you're a doctor yourself, you can look at 2 X-rays and you can look at one that's like, oh my God, look at this disc over here, look at that disc over there, and they have no symptoms. And then this guy over here has got all this pain, and you look at their X-ray and like, we can't find any problems at all with your spine. It looks absolutely perfect. Like, it's all about movement, and that's why Prime is pass or fail, because you either do it right and you do it under control and everything feels effortless, or you don't, and it doesn't matter how bad you fail. The solution is always going to be these particular exercises to prime your body for
by far the most underrated program that we have. I just launched a buddy of mine the other day from I've talked before on this podcast how I mentor trainers that used to work for me and help them with their business and continue to progress. And I just got upset one day because, he's sitting here asking me this and that, Adam, should I do this and help with that? And I'm going through and I'm like, did you watch the Prime Pro webinar that we did? Oh, I didn't have time. I didn't get to it. Well, I said, well, it's on fucking YouTube. You can still watch it for free on there. Oh yeah, I'll get to that. Well, did you ever pick up Prime? Are you utilizing Prime with your clients for that? Oh no, I've been meaning. I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, here's the deal. Like, I can't continue to sit here and spend time with you and help mentoring you when I'm providing a lot of this information for free. And mind you, this is someone close to me that I would give this shit for free if they just asked me. But if you're not even putting the work in to go through, if you're listening and you're a fitness professional, if you have anything to do with health and wellness, most certainly if you're personal training clients, physical therapy, rehab, chiropractic, any of that, and you do not fucking own Prime and Prime Pro, you are missing the boat. I'm telling you right now, that is one of the best investments that you could possibly make for yourself, for your practice, for your clients. Steal it, make it your own. I don't give a shit, but get the information, use it, because it is the future. It is how everybody will be doing things. And that's one of the beauties of listening to this show is you get guys like us that are already going through all this stuff and trying to provide it for you. If you have not listened to the webinar online, that was free information that we put out. Take advantage of all this stuff.
The thing is, like, we get a lot of questions on, our social platforms and on, our private forum, and they were all these reoccurring questions. And there are all these things that we're addressing, like, things that were like, oh, they probably have this and that and the other going on with their joints, and they have this type of dysfunction. And it was like a broken record to all these very common sort of symptoms that people would have going through their programs and getting to a certain point where they've just bypassed all these sort of prerequisites and all these different things that they've just tried to numb out the signal. And so that's why we put so much time and effort into how we're going to tackle this problem. Like this is a monster to tackle, because this is like, what we would do in our eyes, what we would see in the movement process to identify these things to help people better. So,
did you guys see the article that somebody posted from Brett Contreras on our page today?
No, I glanced over it.
Yeah,
refresh my memory.
It was an article that he had written, and he spoke out on this quite a few times. And there's lots of this that I do agree with Brett for the information he's putting out there, because I do like a lot of stuff he puts out there. But they were sharing in our forum because a lot of people out there in the fitness realm are using like scare tactics of, using words like dysfunction, or, you're immobile, or you're hurt here, and so you can't do this. And so that's like this whole like scare people into thinking that they can't do it properly. I have the magical way to fix you. And so he had wrote this out there that, this is what's going on. And he used the example of Usain Bolt, who has
I did read it.
Discrepancy in his.
He's got a little bit of mild scoliosis, or one leg is slightly shorter than the other.
Right. And he used them as an example of this elite athlete who obviously is performing at the highest level and is got all kinds of dysfunction. He's totally fine. And I said, I think it's a horrible example to use a professional athlete.
It is, because
they're the best at compensating.
He's trying to make the case that maximum performance in one particular area equals, overall health, wellness, being able to move properly, whatever. Some of the most dysfunctional patterns I've ever seen in people are athletes. Yeah.
I have dealt with, if I were to look at, all of my clients, right, that I have trained over the years that have injuries, aches, pains, surgeries, issues going on, more than half of them for sure are ex-athletes. Mm-hmm. That it's caught up to them. Sure, maybe when they were 25, they were on top of the world and nothing was bothering them and they were fine. But later on, when all those poor recruitment patterns that they've had for 20 plus years, now that they are now working at a desk or more sedentary like the average American, now that shit's all caught up to them. So
what a great topic, because I have an example. I had a kid that I used to train, was a high school senior, could pitch 90 miles an hour as a high school senior, so he was this huge prospect, but had been pitching for a long time, and he hired me to get him stronger. We lift weights. And his right arm was a totally different arm than his left. Mm-hmm. Stronger, way more muscle development on the right side. And so it was just crazy how great he was at performing at his sport, but how dysfunctional he was otherwise. In fact, it twisted him just a little bit. Like you could see, the difference between the right and left so much that, that's going to end up causing problems in the future. Mm-hmm. What you need to understand is this is how important your patterning is to your life. This is another great example. So my girlfriend just did a post on Instagram, or she's about to do a post. I just read it at the training hour. And the post is about breathing patterns and how, important breathing is. And we hear about this all the time with experts. And by the way, if you're not familiar, I'd suggest looking up information on how important breathing is and how bad our breathing patterns become because of stress or whatever. And she explained how we develop poor recruitment patterns with our muscles that cause our breath and our diaphragm and whatnot, because we're in this constant low level of stress. And so people who breathe shallow and create this stress in themselves, it's literally because it's a poor pattern that they've created, and they can't get out of it without training a brand new pattern. So they have to make this concentrated effort. This is what happens with your entire body. Mm-hmm. Priming your body before your workouts really make sure that you're sending the signal you want to send with your workouts. Otherwise, you end up strengthening this poor patterning. So you have somebody who has got really bad forward shoulder because their shoulder blades don't pull back. They don't get good retraction. and they go do all the rows in the world. They do all the right exercises, all the exercises.
Their way through it.
They're gonna move the way their body is a recruitment pattern. Their default pattern has them move, and all they're gonna do is strengthen that bad patterning. So they're doing all the right exercises, but because they didn't prime properly or get things to fire they want properly, they're just making things worse for themselves. So very, very important you prime your body properly, but it must be movement based. So I guess circle back to answer the question, it has to be movement based, and a movement is either good or it's not good. So it's pass or fail.
Next up is Italian Queen G.
Oh God. Sounds like a nightmare.
Hi, Sal.
If you can't up your calories and carbs because of a sensitive gut, can you still build muscle?
I like this question because I'm going to answer it in this way. If you have gut issues, which are, by the way, by the time you have gut issues, that's a signal that something's been going on for a while. So it's like pain, like my knee hurts. The problem
started way before the pain.
It started before the knee pain. Like whatever I was doing before for however long I was doing it.
And that being said, when it's better, isn't technically better either.
That's right. So once the pain of my knee is gone, once it doesn't hurt anymore, I haven't solved the problem. I've only solved it enough to take away the pain, but
just like your gut,
it'll come back. So if you already have gut issues, you've already been doing something to your body that's not working for it. And gut issues you're lucky for having a sensitive gut, and I'll tell you why. It is a very outward, obvious signal, and you can use it to read what's going on and change things. Sometimes the signals people get are much more subtle, like insulin resistance, until it's too late, and then they have diabetes, or they're getting brain fog, but they don't realize that they're causing things that may promote things like Alzheimer's or dementia. By the time they get that, it's like sensitive gut. It's obvious. You see it right away. Do not ignore that signal. So the answer to this question is, if you have a sensitive gut, you shouldn't be focused on gaining muscle or losing fat or really anything else. You should be focused on making sure your gut is healthy. And the irony of that is, when your gut is healthy, you'll be able to build muscle much, much easier. Way easier. I mean, I'll tell you my own experience. Like, it wasn't. I had some. I go on and off with gut issues, and I tend to be very sensitive, mainly because I fucked myself for years with supplements and poor eating habits and all that stuff. So it was rather recently where I was getting really, really bad gut issues, and I had to kind of do this kind of gut reset, where I fast and I take these herbs and supplements that are antimicrobial and antiparasitic, and to just kind of get me back on track and then start to rebuild health of my gut. Well, after doing that, it's like all of a sudden strength is going up and I'm building more muscle, even though I'm doing the same stuff I was doing before. So you don't want to do both because a lot of times the focus of building muscle, besides the workout, ends up being eat more food, eat more carbs, push more food, and now you've got a sensitive gut on top of it. You're going to be fighting an uphill battle and potentially causing a massive, reaction of your gut, where then you got to go back and take all these steps and maybe stop working out for a while, which you don't want to be put in that position. So
I try to go to her Instagram page so I could see exactly what she looks like right now.
It's private, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's private. So I have a little bit to add to this. I think that 100% I agree with Sal. And I think that your gut should be the number one priority. That being said, one of the biggest struggles that I'm having right now for me personally, and let me preface this by saying that where I'm trying to take my body is outside of where my body wants to go, which now means I'm no longer doing what's the healthiest thing for my body. I'm not searching for optimal health right now. I'm searching for the most amount of fucking muscle I can build. That is where my mindset has been for the last 4 or 5 weeks. And I've tried to keep my carb intake pretty low because it keeps my psoriasis in check. And when I start to increase my carbohydrate intake, I start to notice my psoriasis starts to flare up. So, and of course, this is all probably tying back to my gut. So I have had a hard time building amount of muscle on my body that's beyond where my body kind of wants to be without the use of carbohydrates. So I do believe that there becomes a give and take a little bit. Like if I'm talking to the bodybuilder guy who is trying to build tons of muscle, doing this on the ketogenic diet is damn near fucking impossible. And no smart bodybuilder I know would ever recommend that. In fact, I remember Ben Pack and I were talking about this when we were training the other day. And I said, man, I loved the way I felt health-wise on keto. I felt really good, and my training was good. My energy was all fine. But man, when it came to trying to put some mass and size on, I hit a point where my body didn't want to go any more than that. So, if someone is struggling with that and you're really aggressively trying to bulk, I could see how this could become a bit of a dilemma that, like, man, I can't grow anymore. I can't put size on. I'm thinking that this girl is not trying to do what I'm doing right now.
Well, even then, my advice would be because it's usually not a macronutrient. When you see gut issues, and I'll address what Adam's talking about because I think there's more to the story too.
Oh yeah, you mean like as far as gluten or dairy, or going deeper into what exactly it is?
Yeah, because usually it's not.
That's a good
too many
point.
Carbs or too many proteins.
That's a good point. She could probably more than likely she could probably increase rice and sweet potatoes and be fine all day long.
Yeah, so go a little deeper because it's rarely just carbs.
Right.
If it was just carbs, which it could be, by the way, it doesn't mean it's impossible.
Check the bread and dairy. It's almost always for clients, man.
Well, not only that, but let's say it was just carbs. Let's say it didn't matter what her carbs were. She ate all the foods that she didn't have intolerances to. Just eating too many carbs is giving her sensitive gut. Then I would look deeper in that and look at potential bacterial overgrowths or yeast, because carbohydrates tend to feed certain types of bacteria and certain types of yeast in the body. In which case you would need to balance your body out and then be able to up your carbs. So, like Adam, for you, I'll ask you on your carb intake, have you been able to identify what particular carbs that are doing it, or is it general?
I know. Yeah, I know. Okay. And I should have specified. It's because I introduced pancakes and bread back in. When I'm eating pancakes and having sandwiches or bread inside the diet, the psoriasis comes up. If I had chosen to go through rice and sweet potato, I would have been fine.
But it's hard to eat those because they're not as highly palatable.
Excellent.
And the calories. We also want to explain that because I know listeners are like, well, don't fucking eat the rice and the...
Right.
But you're trying to eat 5,000 calories.
Right.
It's not as palatable to have a bowl of rice as it is to have some pancakes. So I think the point, Adam's making, he's pushing his body above and beyond normal muscularity. He's a big guy who wants to get up to 230 pounds or whatever or more. So it's kind of an interesting dilemma. It would be interesting to watch too how you solve that problem because that would be a pretty cool thing to solve, right? Because we have a lot of people who are stuck in between that, who really like to push their body to the limit, but then also want to maximize.
Well, that's kind of the answer. I have to become more, like, for example, I have routines, right, where I eat breakfast and then what I typically eat for lunch. And then when I'm on the gain, I just kind of add to those things, right? It's simpler for my life to just add to my already kind of current routines of where I eat. And like the whole pancakes thing, the way that works is I still have the same 1,000 calorie or so breakfast. Now I'm slapping on an extra 600 calories of pancakes after I eat that breakfast in addition to that. Or, later on at night where, I would have my normal dinner, then I'll go grab a peanut butter and jelly sandwich after I finish that meal. So that is what was killing me. And so now what I have to do is places in my diet where I would normally have a cup of rice, I'm going to have 2-3 cups of rice. And I recommend scheduling this around your workouts. So if you are somebody who does start to introduce the carbs back in because you're trying to
make the most of them, right?
Yeah, I would put the bulk of them around before and after your training session, so that that a majority of them are getting put to use versus sitting in your. Because I feel like they're less likely to cause issues with your gut if they're going right to use versus over consuming them, which is what I feel like a lot of people.
But I'll tell you this right now, 100%. If you have gut issues right now, and your goal is to build muscle or burn body fat, and you address the gut issue and you start to fix that, you will see yourself build muscle and burn fat.
Agreed.
Much easier.
Agreed. Especially for, in my opinion, like I don't know this girl completely, but I'm guessing she's not trying to look like me as far as a 200-pound chick and just be massive. I could be wrong, but more than likely she just wants to build some muscle.
She's probably talking about pasta. She's Italian, so and pasta's chock full of gluten.
Yes, avoid shit like that for sure.
Yeah. Quick commercial break. Hey, people ask us all the time how they can support Mind Pump. Here's what you can do. You can go to www.brain.fm/Mind Pump and get 20% off Brain FM for meditation or focus. You can also go to audibletrial.com/Mind Pump and get a 30-day trial plus 1 free audio book. Lastly, you can go to getnatureblend.com/Mind Pump and you will get a discount on Ben Greenfield's CBD product.
The Hofmeister 89 is getting married in late September and is asking, what's the best time to restrict water to dry out for the big day?
Get the fuck out of here. Did you guys make this question up?
You know what? I want to talk.
Is he going to be walking down the aisle naked on stage? Up? Like,
I want to talk about this actually because
this is a real question, huh?
Just yesterday, I had somebody I was walking on the treadmill with Katrina, and a friend of a friend who is getting ready for a show this weekend came up to me and said, "Hey, Adam, I'm in peak week. Any last minute advice?" And I said, "Well, walk me through what you're doing right now with kind of sodium and water." And the reason why I asked that is because I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have with, drying out, as the term goes. It's done wrong. It's not smart. It's not right. And I know I'm sure I'm pissing some bodybuilder off who's listening because he's got on stage and he looked awesome this way. Here's the deal. 60% of your fucking muscles is water. So to dry them out completely would be to think of what you would do to a water balloon. You're going to pull all the water out of the water balloon, and what's it going to look like when you pull all the water out? You don't want that. You don't want all the water pulled completely out. Now, we also have subcutaneous water that's floating all around us also. Now, that would be okay to pull some of that out. But really, that's the crazy science of what these guys are trying to figure out through all this bro science of loading up the sodium with just the right amount, pulling just the right amount of water. So I pull some of the water out of me, but then I also leave enough in my muscle bellies to where I still fill out.
Here's why this is one of the most ridiculous questions I've ever seen. I'll tell you why. I'm sorry, Hofmeister, if I'm hurting your feelings. But the difference that water manipulation will make on the appearance of your physique is zero unless you're super fucking lean.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're in the low single digit body fat percentage, then water manipulation will make a difference. If you're 9%, 10% body fat, which is still lean, you probably still have a six pack. Water manipulation, not going to make a fucking difference. Here's the second thing. If you're getting married, you're likely wearing a tuxedo, okay? So all people are going to see is your face. Do you know what looks worse on your body when you manipulate water? Your face. Your face looks like shit. So when these bodybuilders and athletes, it's true. When these bodybuilders and athletes are drying themselves out to go on stage and they're at 2% body fat and it makes them look shredded.
You look gaunt.
Take a close look at their face. Yeah. Dry and fucked up, and they can't really talk, and it's because they have no spit.
This is part of why this is an issue. I actually was just talking to, we mentioned her on the show, the girl Jessica that I'm helping out. What happens to a lot of these competitors as they're getting ready for a show, their coaches look at their bodies and their conditioning is nowhere near where it should be to get on show and compete. So it's
a last-ditch effort.
It is. It's a last-ditch effort to try and make them look smaller by pulling all this water out and dropping. And you see the scale go down. So in your head, you think you're losing something. All you're doing is pulling the water out of your muscles. You're not making your body look any better whatsoever. Maybe you think you are because you're looking smaller. And if you're a bikini girl who's trying to get in shape and you want to look smaller, that's what's happening. But if you are conditioned, right, like Sal's saying, you're getting ready for your wedding day, that's everything. Like, it's not, if you got September.
Yeah, you want to enjoy it.
Well, dude, that's what I'm laughing at.
That's so ridiculous, yeah.
I'm laughing at that.
Do all that?
I'm thinking of all the things that you do on your.
Imagine he goes right to have a drink of beer.
It's a fair.
Like right after that, starts puking.
Think about it this way.
It's a fair question. It's super popular to hear this right now. You got to understand.
But hold on.
People are crazy.
Hold on. Okay. So me and Justin have both been married, so we know all the rigor, whatever the fuck. What's that word?
The stress, dude.
All this,
yeah,
okay.
think about.
But forget
your
that.
Families are gonna kill each other.
Before we get into that, I'm gonna ask Adam because Adam's actually competed.
Yeah.
How awesome do you feel going into a contest, water restricted? All that
there we go.
How do you feel mentally? How does your body feel?
Do you know that that's the hardest part for competing was because you're feeding the last day or two because you're filling your muscle bellies up with carbohydrates. So the hardest is the taking away of water. You're so fucking thirsty. You're cotton mouth and irritable because your mouth is so dry.
You feel like you're foggy,
your
right?
Your body's telling you you're dying.
Yeah. No.
You feel like shit, right?
Dehydration is not a fun feeling.
So you feel like shit. You're getting married, which requires you.
This in the mix.
You're like, this is supposed to be one of the greatest days of your life or memorable.
Right.
You're walking down the aisle in front of a bunch of people. You're going to say some vows to the woman you're devoting your life to.
You're stressed out. Your crazy aunt's going to show up with the 12 kids, that weren't invited.
You got to make a fucking speech. You got to cut a cake in front of people. You got to dance. You're going to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you thinking? Trying to restrict water going into that?
That's the worst idea.
Oh my God, you'll make an ass of yourself.
So because Justin and Sal just made you feel like a piece of shit, I'm gonna give you some really good advice that's generic.
Work on getting lean. Otherwise,
yeah, this is generic advice, but I think it should be good advice for what you're trying to do. It's September, okay? You got plenty of fucking time. What is that? How many weeks away is that from that? What are we in right now?
We're almost in July still.
July, August. I mean, you got fucking bro. You can be shredded by September unless you're super fat. You can be shredded by September.
Unless you're super fat. That's the medical term.
Right. And if you're super fat, drying out water is not going to do anything for you whatsoever. So you got plenty of time. Your goal between now and then should be to get as lean as you possibly can. Get as lean and as shred as you possibly can by eating properly leading up to it. That is going to make the biggest difference on that day. Then when you get close to that time, so also during this whole process, make sure you eat plenty of sodium in your diet. Sodium is perfectly fine, and all the bullshit out there that you can't have that is not true whatsoever, and it's very essential to you. So have lots of sodium, and in fact, go out of your way to get sodium coming into that final week. Then when you get into that final week and you're trying to manipulate some of your water, you need to make sure that you've already been drinking lots of water, and then you pull back a little bit on it. You don't need to pull a ton because you want water in your system. You don't want to cut water. And what I'm saying by a little bit,
you have to slowly introduce and ramp your way up first, is what you're saying, to even be able to then start scaling out and do it safely.
Right. So when I would get ready for a show, I would push as high as 2 to 3 gallons of water and then come down to 1, which is still more than what the average person fucking drinks. So all I'm doing is conditioning my body to pushing that much water in and out of it. That way, when I have just one, it pushes a majority of it that's not being used. So
here's my advice. Fucking practice your speech. Think about how you want to spend the rest of your life.
Can I tell you guys what happened at my wedding?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, dude. Like, okay, just
did you drop your water going into?
Well, yeah. So like, people showed up that weren't supposed to, right?
Oh,
yeah. So not only that, like,
I invited some people.
Like before that, so leading up to that. What's it called when when your side of the family hosts like the dinner or whatever?
What's it called?
Yeah, what's that dinner called? Rehearsal dinner.
There you go.
Thank you.
Jesus Christ.
God, Sal, you were married. Anyway,
I'm trying to.
Nobody knows. I know. I try to block
shut it off. Obviously, an awful husband.
Shut it off. So we're sitting there and like. Ahead of time, I knew my mom already did this for my brother. I asked her specifically not to do this. Sorry, Mom, I'm throwing you under the bus right now. But so what happened was she decided that she really wanted to because of our heritage, Scotch, Irish, like we all like have bagpipes and we have kilts and all that kind of stuff. And so, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like Courtney, like we're good. We don't need all that attention. And like, we're going to be at a really nice restaurant. And like, I don't want like what you did to my brother, like to happen, to me, whatever. Oh yeah, no problem. She does it anyway. Right. So we're out there this fucking bagpiper's coming like from around the corners. Like walking through, there was another wedding party in the same restaurant with us. They're getting fucking like pissed off and infuriated, you know, and like Courtney's crying, like everybody's.
Oh my god!
I'm just like, no. I'm just saying that's one scenario. That's just one scenario.
Dude.
I'm not even gonna go into the rest of it.
Dude, at my wedding, we had all these dishes that were going to come out. Now, in Italian weddings, especially in the South, they feed you until you fucking die. Like, they feed you so much food.
Yeah.
It's scary. Like, they stuff you with food over an incredible
Just
food.
constant barrage of spoons.
Usually you leave a wedding and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the night. That's how much food they feed you, right? So in America, not so much. You usually leave a fucking American wedding starving. You end up going through a drive-through because you're hungry. So we had family from Italy, and then my grandfather, you know, is obviously here. My grandfather does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, he'll say whatever he's going to say, right? So they bring out the first dish, and we specifically told the people, you're going to serve raviolis to Italian people.
Yeah.
Fill the bowl. Like, give them fucking a big thing of raviolis.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why in America, when they serve you shit sometimes, they serve you one or two to make it look cute, right? Mm. So they bring out a dish with 2 fucking ravioli. Everybody gets 2 ravioli as one of their first dish. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh shit.
2?
Yeah. I'm like,
man.
Shit. This is not going to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm watching people. Yeah, I'm watching people. And then the lady serves it to my grandfather. So right away, she puts
Like
the plate
2?
in front of my grandfather. And he looks at it and he goes, what's this? He goes, oh, that's your ravioli. He goes, I know ravioli. I'm Italian. He goes, what the fuck is this? He gives it back to her. He goes, bring it back with at least 10 times as many ravioli. So he was the only one in the front.
I said something. Everybody else is like,
Anyway, prepare for your wedding by preparing for the unexpected.
I'm just telling you,
and
dude.
don't restrict your wedding.
I tell you what, if you remember whoever this is, if you remember to DM me at one point, I think this is a good topic for me to talk about on my Insta story to get into what peak weeks look like, the misconception.
Yeah, that's a very good topic.
Of a peak week. Like, I'll talk all about peak week for a day if you remind me to do this. And what I saw in the bodybuilding world that is so fucked up and wrong about it, and some little takeaways that you can do to improve that. But honestly, like the boys are saying, it's your wedding. Fucking enjoy your day. You don't want to be dehydrated while you're out on the wedding. It's not going to make that big of a difference. The biggest difference that you can make right now is you conditioning yourself leading up to that. If you come into your wedding day at 5 or 6% body fat, nothing is going to make a bigger difference than that. And then when it comes to that, I tell you what, come for your wedding gift from me to you. I will prep you for the final 5 days for your wedding. So I'm gonna put that out there. You can hold me accountable to that.
Look at that.
If you
service.
Adam's gonna talk him into not getting married.
If you bring me you got to bring me.
We're going to Vegas.
You got to bring me a solid lean physique, because if you show me a picture of your fat ass and you want me to help you with your water, I'm gonna just tell you straight up, like, just go enjoy.
It's not the water, man.
Just go enjoy your day, motherfucker, because I can't help you.
Put down the donut.
That's right. So do that from now till then, which means I have high expectations for how lean you should be able to get in September. When you get down to single-digit body fat, then what I can do from there is I'll help you manipulate some water a little bit.
Mind Pump Adam was so generous. He helped my fiance out, but now he doesn't want to get married anymore. He wants to be a bachelor for the rest of his life.
Now we're just friends.
Hey, so a lot of people may not realize this, but we are still doing 30 days of coaching, and it's still for free. So you go to mindpumpmedia.com and you register, and you'll get 30 days worth of information that covers all kinds of different topics, from resistance training to meditation to gut health, basically everything that you need for wellness, health, fitness, and performance. Also, if you want to ask us a question that we answer on an episode like this one, the place to do it is on Instagram. The page to do it on is Mind Pump Media. We also have personal pages. Mine is Mind Pump Sal, Adam is Mind Pump Adam, and Justin is Mind Pump Justin. Finally, go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. We post a brand new video every single day. Nobody else does that, or at least if they do, they copied us. So make sure you go there and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic,
9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.